Thank you, Mark, for being here today to speak with our jammers during our Atlanta service jam.
Yeah.
You've been such an inspiration to all of us here at Service Design Network Atlanta, especially myself. And not only in the US, I think around the world. I'm a champion for your work, and I'm really happy to have you here. And on behalf of the Service Design Network Atlanta, I want to thank you for your time and flexibility, because it's been a ride this past couple of months.
We're improvising. That's what we're good at as designers.
Nice. Yes, I agree. So why don't we just start talking about a little bit about your background and how to get started in service design.
Yeah, so that's the question I get back quite often, because on the show, the service design show, I ask people, what's the first time you got in touch with service design? And then it comes back like a boomerang. So really brief introduction. I wasn't trained as a designer by any means. I have a bachelor degree in software engineering way back ago. When I started doing service design in 2006, when I realized that something like service design actually existed outside of the Netherlands, I slowly realized that a lot of the things I learned as an engineer were really applicable to the world of design. So visual thinking, we used to draw and sketch solutions, is structured problem solving. So chopping stuff up into small bits and pieces. The only thing, or maybe the thing that I was missing the most in my background was the user-centeredness. So really quickly, I realized that I was designing engineering solutions that eventually nobody would end up using. And I realized in my early 20s that that's not the way I want to spend the rest of my life. And then service design came onto my path, and I found basically the bits and pieces that I was missing in my existing or my current actual background. And then, things moved on from there.
That's awesome. And you've currently been doing consulting work. What you've been doing lately?
Lately, so the last year I've been fully focused on running the service design show, where I basically try to help the new generation of service designers have a stronger influence on decision making and strategy within organizations, actually be more impactful. And the way we try to do that on the service design show is by sharing stories and giving practical advice by people who've been in the industry for a long time. And in that way, empowering people like you and all the other Germans who really feel passionate about building more human-centered organizations, but sometimes lack the confidence, the skills, and trying to help them a little bit in there. And before fully dedicating my time and attention to the service design show, I used to run a service design studio here in the Netherlands for 12 years.
That's really great. Speaking of training new designers for the future, what would you say, in your opinion, are the core competences of this service designer?
Of a service designer? Yeah, so I recently wrote an article where I outlined 30 books that I feel are recommended reading for service designers. And when I was creating that list, I found that there was a pattern, and there were patterns in there. Some books fell into a certain category, and I hope you'll be able to share that link. Otherwise, it's really easy. It's servicedesignshow.com/recommended books. And some of the categories in there are also skill-based. So what you'll find is maybe the most important skill that I think a service designer needs to have is effective communication. I'm not just talking about learning about storytelling. That's one aspect of it. And I'm not just talking about being able to write good sentences, but it's also about being able to maybe create compelling videos, or knowing how to get people, how to get a research subject, engaged in a research. So I think communication, I would almost put that at number one. And then there are other things like facilitation. Our work isn't just about workshops, but leading groups in a certain direction, either in a formal workshop or informal setting. It's a really big part of our work. So understanding group dynamics, learning how to facilitate that is really important. And a third one I can mention is being able to do research, knowing how to, it's not just about asking questions, but knowing how to ask the right questions, knowing how to find interesting things, being curious. But yeah, there are more, but these three definitely should be on the list somewhere.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful. What about the skills that you see for the future now that we are facing, you know, a new way of working from home or remotely? What would you say, is there a difference there in those patterns that you found moving forward?
It might be tempting to start thinking about how do you use new technology and stuff like that. I think that's, yeah, sure, that plays a part, but using tools and methods has always been there, and tools and methods changed over time. So you have to evolve with the new capabilities that technology gives you. But that's not the essence. I think the biggest shift that I'm seeing within service design is that we're starting to understand what our design material is. So if you're a product designer, a real product designer, you're shaping wood, you're shaping metal, those are your design materials, and you understand the properties and how to use them. I feel like in service design, it was really unclear what the design material was that we were actually shaping. What is it that we're designing with and for? And I'm coming to the conclusion that organizations are our design material. And what that means is a skill for the future is that we have to understand what are the properties of this design material. What is it that we're actually designing? And you have to understand how organizations work. You have to understand things about processes, about systems, about people, about culture. So I think moving into the future, that will be an area that focuses more and more within service design, understanding the organization as your design material.
That's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned a couple of things that new designers need to focus on, and organization culture, organizational dynamics being a big one from now on. What about maybe something you wish you would have known in your earlier career that would have helped you get, you know, to a better place or help you get started?
When you sent me this question over, I was thinking about that, and the only thing I wrote down was, great question, I'll need to make a video about it. There are so many things I learned along the way, and I think maybe experimenting even more, trying stuff out even more often. Even if you think about it, when I started doing service design back in 2006, it was basically a blank canvas. There were people doing stuff around the world, but there wasn't a guideline. There weren't courses that would tell you, you need to learn this and this and this. So we were in a fortunate position where we could say, well, let's invent what service design is for a great deal. So even in that period, I would say experimenting even more would have been more beneficial. But I'll have to think about this one, and I'll create a video and share it on LinkedIn somewhere.
Sounds good. There's definitely a hot topic there when we talk about from ideation to implementation, right? And experimentation being a big driver of that gap. And honestly, I don't think we figured that out yet in terms of how to get there. And maybe experimentation is a driver. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we have to rethink our notion of what implementation means in service design, but that's a different topic.
Sounds good. That'll be for another video and another talk. So what about the key challenges that you would say a service designer faces once they're starting their career?
It depends on whether you're just graduated or you're transitioning into service design. So a common pattern that I see is that people struggle to validate and prove the value of their work. And no matter how experienced you are, people still struggle with that. So yeah, and that does something with your confidence, how you articulate things, how you position yourself in the organization. So yeah, communicating the value of your work is a really common challenge.
And you think that people get there by experience, or there are some tips and tricks to get there to effectively communicate and become more confident?
Absolutely. You can practice it, and it's not just by experience. I think it should be really easy for us, because communicating value, we need to understand what the other person values. And if the other person is your boss or you're the CEO or whoever you're talking to, if we use our design approach and try to understand how their world looks like, what are their pains and gains, desires, what keeps them up at night, we should be able to pretty quickly translate what we do into how it helps them to achieve what they want to achieve. So I think it's just a shift of perspective that we have to be more interested in the people we're working for and with, and then learn their language, and rather than having them try to understand what it is that we do, we should learn how to tell our story in their language. Or it should be both, but we need to do a better job at telling our story in their language.
Definitely. The topic of translation could also be a whole new video just to talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Since we're talking about, effective communication, some patterns that you've seen from being a good service designer, are there examples of people that you think or common traits that you see from a good service designer or a successful service designer?
I can speak from my experience and the people I've seen in the studio throughout the years. What I see in people who enjoy doing service design and who really embrace the field is, first and foremost, they're curious. They want to figure stuff out. They enjoy the process of actually not knowing something more than figuring out than the solution process. And being curious is a really important part of that. These are people who are, I think, really comfortable with uncertainty, rather than seeing uncertainty as something that needs to be eliminated. They're able to embrace it and see it as an opportunity to do things. So embracing uncertainty. I think, again, communication, there are good communicators. In whatever way comes to them. Some people are able to visually communicate. Some people are verbally strong. Other people know how to make good videos. Yeah. Do you need more?
No, this is awesome. I think it will definitely inspire our jammers, and you're definitely, even made me think. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to start thinking of, be more effective this way, and maybe considering that. So I appreciate that. Now it's more of a philosophical question. Why service design? Why someone would want to be a service designer? What would you say there's the thought behind being a service designer?
What's the thought behind being a service designer?
Yeah, the reasoning why you would be a service designer.
We should
At a
ask
very
we should ask the question to the people who are listening, but I'll keep it for myself. So I've been in the service design field for a few years now. I don't know if I would call myself a service designer, but that's again a different debate. What attracts me to this field is I'm interested in people. I'm really curious why people do things, how they operate, how they work. I'm also really interested in how organizations work. I'm also really interested in how to make things happen. So I think for me, it's the combination of curiosity in people, curiosity in business, and curiosity in changing things, doing things better, and eventually creating a world that is more where there's less frustration, the customers are happier, employees are happier. I think that's the thing that drives me to service design, but I would be curious to hear what the thing is for other people.
Yeah, I think we could definitely ask them and see what they think and give back to you as a follow-up. That would be interesting to get for. Is there any other thoughts or things that you wish I asked you, or anything you want to share with our jammers?
Anything I want to share? Well, I'll do a short promo for a new project that I'm working on, which excites me a lot at this point. Next to running the Service Design Show, the YouTube channel and the podcast, I'm creating a new platform called servicedesignjobs.com. Right now, you might perceive it as a job board, as a job listing overview of all the available service design jobs worldwide. Well, that's a start, but our goal really with the platform is to build a home for people who want to create a path to a fulfilling service design career. And as somebody once said to me, it's hard to find a service design job, but it's even harder to find a service design job that you love. And I thought that was a really good way to phrase it. So we're really at the starting point of building this platform. If people are interested, go ahead, check it out. You'll find the jobs there. We're also publishing new articles. We have a weekly newsletter. We'll be inviting employers to share their experience. We'll be partnering with companies to provide new content. So we plan to really ramp up the things we're doing there, all in sort of effort to help service designers create a fulfilling career. That's basically our mission.
Yeah, that's awesome. It has been my go-to for those who ask me too. I'm like, just go there, check it out. I feel like this is going to be a really exciting avenue for those looking for, a career in this field and moving forward. And, I'm wishing you all good things and hope that this will be super successful, which I have no doubt it will be. So any closing remarks?
Closing remarks. Have fun with the jam. My first jam was in 2011, so it was a lot of fun. Don't try to be perfect. Ship stuff, get shit done. Learn a lot.
And have fun.
Yeah, have fun. Yeah.
That's awesome, Marc. Thank you so much for your time again, and I'm sure jammers will really enjoy this conversation. So thank you.
Hope so. Have fun.